Well, I'll tell you what, Linda,
Yes.
I do have 9 o'clock, and so I think we're gonna get started. We can do that with 2 of us. Have we got anybody else on at this time?
Leslie?
Okay, anybody else?
Bob Steenson.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay,
Hey, Leslie?
yes.
Leslie, are you
Yeah.
where you could call Doug and, oh wait, maybe he just beeped in. Are you there, Doug? Could you call him and see if he's having any problems getting on the conference call? I just talked to him and he planned on calling in.
Did he? Okay.
I mean, you could go ahead if you want.
Yeah, I think we can get started, Linda, if that's all
That's
right
fine.
with you. We can at least
Yeah,
get
that's-
through some of our regular action items if we can. Number 1 is the approval of the agenda,
I'll move to approve.
and I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried. Next is public comment. We have a couple of guests in the audience, but I think they're here for a specific item, unless there's something else you want to comment on.
Nice meeting room,
Thank you.
nice and cozy.
Yeah, cozy is it.
Okay. Item number 3, review action regarding approval of March 9th, 10th, and 19th meeting minutes.
All right, well, I'm going to start to remind everybody, I'll go ahead and approve March 9th and the 19th, but I need to abstain from approving March 10th since I was not present.
Okay. Shall we hold off on that until we can move on?
Well, there's been some beef. Has Doug joined?
I did hear a noise. Doug, are you there?
He said yesterday something happened that he could hear us, but we couldn't hear him.
Well, there we got another beep. Doug, did you just join us?
No, it's Leslie. Doug said that he was on though.
He was.
I wonder if he's got his phone muted?
I don't know.
We can come back to that if you want, Roy. That's
Yeah,
fine.
let's
So
do
we can
that,
wait.
Linda. Because,
I don't think there's necessarily an issue of you approving the minutes regardless if you were at the meeting or not, though.
well, Linda, if you feel better about it, here's what I can do, because I was at those meetings and I did look through them. I will make a motion to approve the March 9th, 10th, and 19th minutes.
All right, and I'll second.
Okay.
Just noted that, I abstained from the 10th, so as long as
Right.
it's just noted, that's fine.
Right?
Hey, just a note, I'm here now.
Okay.
Oh, Doug is with us, good.
Welcome.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, right now we have a motion to approve the 9th, 10th, and 19th minutes, and we have a second on that. I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried. Item number 4 is review action regarding approval of claims. Is there discussion on that?
I'll second that. Can you hear?
Well, I need a motion
Well,
for, Linda, you made the motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Doug, and you seconded it.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the claims. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried. Item number 5 is review action on LAC Courthouse project contracts and change orders. Brent said we set it up to have them call in at 9:15. So we're going to go past that item if we may and come back to it. Okay? So we'll move on to item number 6, which is review action regarding bids received for crushed stone resurfacing. They were due by 9 a.m. And have we got,
We have one.
we have one
I would
bid?
assume you want Dusty down here.
I would like Dusty down here, yeah. You want me to try to get a hold of him?
Yep.
I can do that.
He's maybe just not ready to get here.
Not a problem.
Or Dwayne.
I'm gonna call Dusty and have him come down.
Hey, Gloria.
Yes.
Yeah, so I talked to Justin DeVore before the meeting,
Yeah,
and
he called me while
let
I
him
was
know
talking to Doug.
Okay. He said as long as it's being recorded, he can put the recording on the website.
Okay. Sounds good.
Dusty? Yeah, we're ready for you. Thank you. Bye. He's on his way. The other thing we have on this is the COVID-19 discussion, but I think I'd rather wait till we have a little more time so we can discuss that further. So we'll wait for Dusty to come down and talk about the
Okay.
bids for the crushed rock, crushed stone.
Dusty.
Good morning, Dusty.
I'll stay over here. How you guys doing?
Good.
Snuck in under the tent, people.
So
Dusty,
Doug and Linda, just so you know, we have Smokey, right? Smokey?
Smokey Doyle.
And Kaylin here.
You guys got, you
I got one.
good to go?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Dusty.
You bet.
Okay, and these bids were due by 9 a.m. this morning. And if Gloria reported this a minute ago, I think we got one bid at this time, or did we get more?
Just one.
Just one. Okay?
Check the box.
Huh?
Did you check the
I
box?
didn't.
Is there a key there? Should I go look at it? Or
I
should
think I'll have to bring the key down.
Just in case.
Just in
I
case, that's a good
probably only
idea.
have the one bid, but I might as well better be safe than sorry.
Right, we do not want
Yeah.
somebody to come back later and say, I put it there.
The right one's here, Dusty.
What, you want to relook at your numbers before I say that? No, I'm just kidding.
Hey Tracy, could you bring the key down and just check the box down in the entryway just to make sure there were no bids put in there? I forgot to bring the key down with me. Thanks, bye-bye.
Sure. I'll take that.
Had you forwarded it to anybody without following up with anybody else from that email I sent last week?
As far as this,
As far as anybody else that might bid, that would need to know that we're locked down.
no.
So,
I mean, if they were gonna come in here, I mean, if you would've got to the door and you couldn't get in, what would you have done? You would've called me?
Absolutely.
Or do like you did at Dr. Gloria, or whatever, you know. So I'm not too worried about it.
I have.
And then, as far as the minutes for Doug and Linda, I'll put in their inboxes.
Sure.
Check if that's her. Nothing in there.
Nothing in there.
Can I look
Okay.
at those numbers now, Dusty?
Throw this back.
Okay, so we do have one bid.
Do you want me to read it, or do you want me to?
No, I can give it to him if you want, and I don't know if it's,
There's that.
that's what I need, that's what I'm looking for, yeah, sorry.
You want to read it, or you want me to?
Sure, I can read it. That's fine.
Bruni Rock Products, right?
We have one bid from Burning Rock Products And the bid is $12.159 per ton, for a total of $1,215,292. Anything else, Dusty, you need?
No, I don't think so. I think that's
Okay.
fine.
Can I just say that that doesn't, oh, that many times.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
999.
Yeah, I thought it was for,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Good.
Did Linda and Doug, did you both get those numbers?
Yep.
Yeah, so I heard you say $1,215,292.
Yep,
And actually be.
And that's meeting the needs of the 99,950 ton of rock.
Right.
Okay.
Yep, I got them.
So Dusty,
And
what is
actually,
your
the total with
recommendation?
that math, with the 1.159, should be 5 cents on top of it at the end. But it's 5 cents, so.
okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would recommend going, approving the,
Approving the bid?
yep.
So Dusty recommends approving the bid. Do I have a motion to so approve?
Okay, I would move to approve that bid received from Bruning Rock Products.
And I would second.
Okay, I have,
It came from Bruning, not from Skyline, right?
Correct.
right, correct.
Okay.
Yes, and that is the only bid we received this year, so. So I have a motion. Do I have a second for that?
I seconded.
Okay, thank you, Linda. I have a motion and I have a second to approve the bid from Bruning Rock Products for the crushed stone for the 2020 season. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
guys.
Yeah, thank you.
And I left some notepads and that up there.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Thanks.
You bet. Thank you.
Keep in touch. Yep.
Thanks.
Hope for a
Thank
mild
you.
spring.
Yeah. So far, the roads are much better than they were a year ago.
Way better.
Yeah.
See ya. Thanks, guys.
We're gonna get a call in here in just a little bit at 9:15 from Brett and their people. But I think we could start and talk with Dusty about secondary roads. If we had time to do that.
Yeah, as far as the guys, I shared the letter that I had given to my guys that I had shared with you guys last week. Kind of minimize, I mean, the motor grader guys are going to be out blading, 'cause that way they'll be on their own. Some of the other guys will probably be doing brushing, 2 guys at a time, minimizing the, how many people are together. Calvin's met with the DOT in the city regarding the CBTC itself, and as far as that goes, it's on shutdown, and at least as far as having access to it, but working with them on cleaning. The DOT was cleaning, the city was cleaning, and I'm talking about Calvin is like, well, how much more cleaning can we do? But I said, well, whatever is needed, if they need more help, go ahead and you have the supplies, go ahead and do additional cleaning. Other than that, we're going to minimize how the guys are together. And go from there. It's kind of as long as we don't have rain, the guys can be blading the gravel roads, because that's usually our spring operation anyways. And we'll I told them this morning, I said any more information I get from the board of supervisors and stuff, and as such, I will pass on to them as it becomes available. But right now, it's to continue to follow as the handbook allows and/or go from there. And any other directive would have to come from the board, so.
Sure.
I really don't have anything else. Bridge on S70, that they started driving pile last week. They actually poured the pier encasements. So they're plugging along with that bridge, which is good. My thinking is they're gonna keep going to town on it so we can get it done and back open up before, so it does not, it's not a huge bridge anyway, but at least get that from there.
This is Brett.
Hi, Brett.
Hi, Brett.
Morning.
I really don't have much else unless you guys got anything.
It's not gonna snow anymore, is it, Dustin?
I hope not, I hope not. Just so you guys are aware of it, there are some spots that are showing up. We have not really started hauling any patch rock yet. I talked to Tim today, and just to let you guys know, I mean, I know out there, I noticed on Underwood and 140th on west of the Caldwell Road, there's a spot there in the corner. I just kind of told him, I said, as we kind of move forward here, let's look at maybe hauling a little bit of spot rock, but not go crazy yet, because we're still kind of in winter mode. We're in March, so.
Sure.
I know.
If you want.
But I will just keep you guys posted as that kind of proceeds. Maybe, you know, next week we'll have another foreman's meeting, and then as we start doing stuff, I'll keep you posted.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thursday, I have a conference call for the NIACOG meeting for projects that were submitted for federal or swap dollars. I submitted from, just so you guys are aware of it, if you go north of town on Shadow Avenue all the way to the T, and then we did that section road from there just about a couple hundred feet east. I submitted from there east to Underwood and north to the county line for a project, and I think I'm gonna get $1 million out of that. But I've not confirmed yet, and that still has to be approved by the NIACOG rep, which I think is you, Roy,
Yeah.
and the rest of the other
Well, it's
members.
through NIACOG. It's
Right,
through the,
right.
Yeah, right. Our
So,
board-
but I will keep you guys posted on that. I did submit that as a project, and looks like it probably will be good to go the way, according to what was talked about. So I'll know more Thursday.
Yeah, and
Sounds
that,
good.
so you say that has to be approved by the governing board?
Right.
Yeah, and I know we've got a meeting, I'd have to look at my schedule, I know we got one coming up eventually here, but it'll be interesting to see how that meeting is conducted.
Not the same one you're talking about?
No, mine's a tech meeting that
Oh,
we fight for the projects
So
with
yours
all the
is
other counties and
it's not a
cities and all
It's
that.
NIACOG tech meeting.
Right.
Technical
Okay.
meeting, yeah,
Okay.
and that will be Thursday, and then once we get that approved, we send that off to the governing committee.
If I can ask, how are they gonna conduct that meeting? Is that gonna be through a conference of some type?
Yeah, it's
or-
I can't remember what they called it. It's not the go-to meeting. Maybe it's a go-to meeting. It's going to be via and I'm the chair, and along with Chris, I'll be basically everybody will mute, and then I'll just ask individually everybody talk. But it sounds like all the documents have been sent out with all the projected projects that have been submitted, where we're at, and so we're fiscally constrained through 2024. This would be. So this project that I submitted was for 24. So, which will save us on local dollars, because at one time I talked about, doing the local dollars there. So
Sure.
we can use the local dollars elsewhere then. So. But I'll keep everybody posted on that, then 5-year program and DOT budget, which will mimic our county budget. I'll be bringing that to you guys, because I have to submit that by April 15th, so the next board meeting, more than likely, I will have that to you guys ahead of
Okay.
time. So I don't have anything else, unless you guys do.
Any other questions for Dusty?
Thanks,
Oh.
Dusty.
Yep, you're welcome.
Just pray for no frost boils.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Okay. Well, with that, we're going to move actually backwards a minute. We've got Brett on at least. Brett, do we have anybody else on from the project?
Chris from Paulson Electric is on.
Propulsion Electric, okay. Anybody else? Brett, who else did you expect?
Bill and Brian.
I'm here.
Brian's in the room.
Yep. But then Bill Huey and his crew accepted as well.
Okay.
But I guess what we probably could do is, Chris, do you have enough information about adding this breaker? Because I guess the biggest question that the board has is this breaker absolutely necessary right now? Is it necessary for the project? Is it something that if they don't need, it would be a waste? Or is it something that can be added in the future? Or why are we doing it right now, I guess is the biggest question. And is it absolutely necessary to do right now?
I'm not 100% sure what breaker you're talking about or what we're talking about here. Are we talking about this change order?
Right, we are
Yep,
talking.
change order to,
Yeah, we are talking specifically about the change order, and it was a little over $1,000. It was to add a breaker in some place to free up a space for possible future use.
I'm not even sure we're on the same page here. The change order I'm looking at is for the exhaust fan, for a starter for an exhaust fan.
DC 26 Electrical and Communications. It's attached to the,
Yeah, what you attach to the meeting is, we're talking about there's an exhaust fan that gets a starter. So adding a starter to control the exhaust fan to turn it on and off.
hang on, I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, I am too.
Because when we discussed this with Bill, 2 weeks ago, before the OAC meeting and then after a little bit, he had mentioned that this was to be adding breakers for expansion. Hang on, I'm looking at it now. So it's been based on PR1. Pricing for revised circuiting for EF2, the attached drawings, combined motor starter, revised 15.3 circuit breaker for panel HB1 and label old circuit in panel A4 as spare. Information on EF2 and the equipment coordination schedule. So I guess the question is, obviously we're making a breaker a spare. Is this something that's a change to the electrical? Is this a change that because Bill had made it sound when Brian and I talked to him, that it wasn't only for the motor starter, it was also adding an extra breaker or two for future expansion. Is there anything more that you can tell us about it, since I don't think Bill's on the phone yet?
Well, my estimate's kind of attached in there. The breaker portion, I covered being that I could add it to the panel at no additional cost because it'll be coming out of a new panel. The starter is the majority of the cost there. You'll see on my estimate with $476 of the number, $476 of the number. So there's an exhaust fan that on the original print showed just power connection to it, no control. And so this change order reflects adding a motor starter that would allow that exhaust fan to be turned on and off by control.
So you had an exhaust fan in the plans that had no control on it?
Yes, yep.
So this thing would have just ran until it gave out?
Yeah, it would just turn power on and run all the time.
Well, Brett, that's a lot better explanation than we've had previously.
Yeah. And to be honest, it kind of raises some concerns with me that we had an exhaust fan that was just going to run forever without any type of control. So I guess what I'm looking at now is, Chris, have you seen on the drawings any other situation that was like this that we need to be concerned about or addressing now?
Well, also brings up you're talking about a start. When you say starter, do you mean a switch or actually a starter for the motor?
I mean a starter that has on-off control.
Okay.
So something else is controlling, turning this exhaust fan on or off.
Okay.
So now I'm wondering what Bill was talking about with this breaker, which the only thing I can see is it's freeing up one. But again, I guess I'm also on, obviously the exhaust fans need to have motor starters on them.
So,
So they're
okay,
not
so
just running forever.
the breaker, I didn't provide additional breaker because the breaker was always in the panel. It's coming back to me now. So the breaker was always going to be in the new panel feeding the exhaust fan. So, like if you look at my estimate, I don't have a breaker included. I have just the starter and a little bit of conduit to rework over to where the starter's mounted.
I'm looking at it right now. So, I don't know what everybody else wants to do, but after getting this new information from Chris, which is a lot more, like you had said, Roy, this is a lot more information than Bill provided. I kind of want to go back and talk to Bill Huey unless somebody just popped on the line. Sorry, I heard a ding. I didn't know what it was. And then I think I need to review with him because if we're missing a motor starter where there should have been a motor starter, is this, in my experience, this is something that's common. I mean, you can't just have an exhaust fan in a public building that just runs forever and is only controlled by a breaker. I feel like this is common practice, and this thing always should have had a starter on the thing.
That was kind of my point with that.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. And this is all news to me. I have not seen any of this come through. So I'm not comfortable either, Brett, until we get more information.
Okay.
Well, and like I said, I want to go back to Bill. This sounds like something that should have been in the plans and hooked up originally per the drawings. And if this is a miss, in my opinion, Floyd County shouldn't be paying for it. That should be on Prohaska if this is something they missed in the drawings.
Okay, here's I want to keep this moving forward, obviously, but here's my question. Is it Chris from Paulson?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
Chris, my question would be, we've had this on our table here for a little bit, looking at it, I'd say for at least 2 or 3 weeks. The question is, timely-wise, do we have any time frame on this that this decision has to be made?
I'd say we're a couple months away for sure from meeting a direction on it for sure.
Okay.
At least try 3 months.
Okay, if that's the case, Brett, with that information, I think it's good if you want to get back together with Bill and whoever at Prohaska and try to figure this out.
Yeah. Yep.
I just want to make
Like I
sure
said, I think
we
the other
don't
thing-
miss time frames that we need to meet and things like that.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm going to review, and I might even give it Chris and see if there's other instances this is going on because I don't want to be adding a motor starter because it was missed every other week.
Okay?
I'd rather make sure it's all taken care of in one shot. And again, if this is a miss on Prohaska, in my opinion, this is a Prohaska responsibility, not a Floyd County owner responsibility.
Well, I'll let
So-
you work through that and give us some direction on that in the future. Is that all
Yep,
right
I
with
will
Linda
do.
and Doug?
What's that?
Is that okay with Linda and Doug?
I'm perfectly fine. I think we just need Brett to do some legwork on this and find out what direction we need to take.
Okay. With that, I'm going to move on to the other one. I'm hoping you had a chance to look at the other change order request was for material on sprinkler system. And Brett, I'll let you touch on that if you want to.
So I was contacted by Tyler Henley with Continental Sprinkler, which is installing the sprinkler system and fire system. He had reached out, and I don't know if he was ever talked to about VE items, but he was the one that brought it to my attention and said, hey, if you guys are looking for more VE, there is multiple places in this building that we don't need to have the scheduled pipe that's called out. We can go to a PVC pipe, and I can give, I can't remember the exact amount, but $10,000 and change back to the owner if you want to make that change. So I sent it through the proper channels, put it in as an RFI, and what would come back is approved by Prohaska. Tyler Henley with Continental already sent in all the submittals for the stuff, for the correct stuff he's going to change it to, and everything went through the process, and it was approved on everybody at RM. So ideally what we're doing is changing, which Roy knows as well as I do, and there's a lot of areas on this drawing that should have been PVC pipe to begin with. Don't know why it was called out to be steel pipe, but ideally it's going to be a credit back to the owner for, I believe, $10,132. Not seeing it in front of me, just to change some of the piping to PVC. It's going to stand up just as well. It works just as well. It's common practice. I mean, it's been common practice for over 10 years. So why there were certain areas that was called out the way it was, I'm not sure, but Continental Fire brought it to our attention to get this $10,000 back in the owner's pocket and change some of this.
Okay, and I looked at
Brett,
this. Go ahead, Linda.
Well, I was going to say the amount that I have in front of me is 10,392.
That's correct.
Okay, I want
Yep.
to make sure. All right.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. I was just, it's always better to undershoot than overshoot when you're getting money back.
But no, Linda, you're correct. The change order is for $10,392. Okay, and I guess my take on this, Brett, was that if it had been designed with the Schedule 10 and the PVC pipe, we would have accepted it. And absolutely, my experience over the years is we see a lot of grooved Schedule 10 pipe out there. The PVC, I can't say I've seen a lot of, but if it's appropriate to be used in certain applications, I see no problem with this.
Well, and
Yeah.
if it
Well,
meets code,
I think the biggest reason that you use steel piping is for when you're in danger of hitting it, like i.e. for trucks in factories or you don't want it exposed in buildings where kids can jump up and grab a hold of it and do chin-ups and that kind of thing on it. And obviously prisoners could do the same thing. So that'd be one reason why you wouldn't do it. But for the rest of the building, I don't know why you would.
so Brett, are you,
Absolutely.
that you have or have not talked to Bill about this?
Yes, this has been 100% approved. It's been signed off by Bill. We did an RFI. We went through all the motions before it hit your guys' desk. So,
Okay, all right.
So are we looking to approve this? Are we going to do a separate motion for this change order?
Yes, Doug, that would be the intention today. If we're of a mind to do this change order, if someone's willing to make that motion.
I would move to approve the change order with Continental Fire Sprinkler for what I have is $10,392.
And I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. And for further discussion, yes, that is the correct amount. And according to this, it is change order number 1 with Continental Fire Sprinkler. So with that, if there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that's been approved. Okay, we're on that LAC courthouse project. Well, we got Brett on the phone, Brian's in the room. Is there any more discussion we need to have on that today?
Building permit.
Building permit.
And permit.
Right. We have a building permit. I've got to find that.
Hey, Gloria, what were the numbers written on top of the document? Do they mean something?
Just the account codes that we charge it to.
Got it, okay.
So if I'm reading this right, we're approving the building permit. And is this going to be, because we've already had a partial permit,
Right.
so this will be the
This
rest?
is to go above ground.
This will be
This
to
is
go
the rest
above
of it,
ground.
yeah.
Will we see more in the future? That was my
No, this should be it for
question.
the entire project.
This should be the final for the project.
Right, Paul Hughes said they wanted something to start with, so you paid $5,000 and something originally.
Right.
And this is the remainder, so the total was, I'm sorry I don't have the exact number, it was 25,000, like 459 or something like that. And so this is just the remaining 20,000.
Okay,
And this was in your claims today also. it
So
just-
you would like a separate motion on this if possible? Okay. Is anybody, either Doug or Linda?
I will go ahead. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the building permit application for the $20,000.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve the building permit application as presented for $20,000. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's
That
carried.
needs your signature.
Okay. Anything else on LEC courthouse project at this time? Brett, have you got any comments or?
The only thing I would say right now, which is something that's come up, and I've sat in several meetings and conference calls on, in the construction industry, there's people that are, kind of asking the question now and getting concerned with procurement of materials. If there's any, manufacturers shut down or doing work on our projects being brought in late or waiting on things. And just so everybody knows, at this point in time, everything's moving ahead the way it should. There's been no issue so far. I've reached out to some of our higher level manufacturers and distributors, and they're still running strong. The only issue we've ran into, which is minor, is galvanizing. One of the biggest galvanizers that a lot of steel suppliers use is in Illinois, and Illinois shut down. But that's one of those things that if we can't get them, we can go to a primed and painted lintel, or there's numerous options to get around that. But the point I'm making is at this point in time, we're not foreseeing at this point any effect on schedule or procurement of materials for the project. But obviously, just like everything else going on with this COVID-19, take it day by day, and if anything comes up, I'll make sure that the board knows about it and everything's transparent so we can handle this and get this thing taken care of. So,
Brad, a question I have, what about, I think Brian mentioned it yesterday, of course, there's regulations that they're following, the labor force, with every one of the contractors, trying to make sure that they're recognizing whether or not they have health issues and following certain protocols. That could be also a future risk, possibly, correct? That we may have trouble with labor?
it's possible, but at this point in time, so Master Builders of Iowa, in conjunction with the AGC, actually sent Governor Reynolds a letter yesterday. If you look at the CDC guidelines, federal standards for, say, a statewide shelter in place,
Right.
many instances of construction are considered essential, especially something like a law enforcement center. Their letter to the governor was stating, hey, long story short, we're keeping a social distancing. We're making sure we're not having, a group of 15 concrete guys in one spot within 3 feet of each other working on stuff. We do everything we're doing is open air, and just making sure that if something were to happen with a shelter in place or shutting down, that those of us in the construction industry are able to continue to keep working on the project.
Okay.
I think one of the descriptions in there was critical infrastructure, and I suppose you could argue that the jail is that. So,
Yeah.
Well, the only thing I remember is when I read it in the meetings I've been in is, like you said, they said critical infrastructure, but they also include residential in that because it's considered housing and for the greater good of people. So the only thing I would say is what we could argue is this is a jail and a public facility. So stopping work on this thing for 3 months isn't really an option when it's for the greater good and it's for the public and for the people.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I've been gearing up doing my investigating, getting ready for this. And, obviously we got to do whatever it takes to keep, everybody safe and, the project moving. But in the same instance, not have the governor showing up at the job site, unless it's, for ribbon cutting.
No, right, and it's, Brian presented things yesterday, talked about procedures you guys are taking, yeah. And so,
Yep.
you know, I think at this time, you know, appropriate things are happening.
Yep. Yep, so this one, we're keeping moving and trucking and trying to be as safe as possible, follow, you know, the governor's orders and the CDC and keep moving on this thing. And again, you know, day by day, and obviously, you know, if anything comes up, you know, Brian will either be up there to talk to you guys, or I'll be sending out a meeting invite so we can all get on the phone and talk, so.
Sounds good.
Okay?
Great. Thank you.
Any other discussion about the LAC project?
I think
I got that.
Just thought I'd just mention, Brian's here too, he's got a checklist that all of the workers on site will have to, a screening checklist that they'll have to fill out.
I have to check them in every morning now to make sure nobody's sick or whatever, and if they are, they have to go home. But every day I gotta fill out a sheet, or actually, it's a weekly sheet that next Monday we'll start a new one, everybody signs in. Every day I'll check them in to make sure they're healthy, and if they're not, they go home.
Approximately how many people do we have on the job site?
Right now we have 9, there's 8 masons, and then Schneider has their foreman here.
Okay?
Next week possibly we'll have some plumbers here too,
Okay?
so we could be up to 15 maybe at one time.
But we still have a large site there.
Right, they'd be on opposite ends of the building
Right.
anyway, so.
Yeah. Any other questions about the LAC project?
I have none.
No.
Okay? With that, we're gonna move on. Thank you, Brian. Thanks, Brett.
See you later.
And
Yep,
we
thank
will-
you.
We're gonna move on
Thanks,
to our
Brett.
next agenda item, which was a public hearing. We could have at 9:30, and it's past 9:30, so we're gonna open that public hearing regarding final plat for RK subdivision for a 7-lot subdivision located at 2648 195th Street, Charles City, 2-95-16, St. Charles Township. Have we had any written or oral comments in reference to this?
I've received none per the postings.
Okay. And in our packets, we have information from planning and zoning, I believe. Leslie, are you still there, Leslie?
I am, yeah.
You wanna comment on this?
Zoning and planning had their meeting last Tuesday, and there's no change from what you guys had discussed for the preliminary for Ray Holzer subdivision. It's the same thing, it just, by definition in the ordinance, the split, the amount of lots there made it a major subdivision, but he's not doing any work, just selling lots as is.
Okay. Ray's in the room with us as well as Dusty. Is there any comments at all?
No, I'm just hoping that this thing can finally maybe be closed today, since we went like 8 months and about 10 meetings and we've never had any objections. So I'd really appreciate that. So I do have a guy that's wanting to get going, so I need to get this recorded.
Okay. Without any other comments, I'm going to close the public hearing. And we're going to move on to item number 8. Do I have to have an action to close the public hearing? No, I can just do that. Okay. I'm going to move on to item number 8, which is review action regarding resolution number 16-20 RK subdivision final plat.
And I can go ahead and make the motion on this if you want. I'm going to go ahead and move to approve Resolution 16-20, making this the approval of the final reading and approving the application for the final subdivision plat of RK subdivision and waiving the second and third reading.
And I'll second that.
Further discussion, I do want some clarification on the packet we got sent out. It's called resolution number 22-20 instead of number 16-20. Am I missing something?
Where are you seeing 22?
On the packet we got sent out, Gloria.
You sure the one wasn't just
That's the
information
other
from
Oh,
the
that's a
city?
different
That's the
one.
city of Charles Cities. That's the city of Charles
Oh,
Cities.
that's the
That's
city of
the
Charles
city of
Cities.
Charles Cities.
I see.
So go, scroll up.
Scroll,
Go earlier.
go earlier? Okay.
Should be ahead
Yeah.
of that one.
Yep, okay, I stand corrected, thank you. With that, and if there's no further discussion, all those in favor of approving resolution 16-20?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
and good luck, Ray. I know it's been a
Thank you.
long time.
Thanks, Ray,
Thank you.
Long
for your
process.
patience.
No problem.
Okay.
I know everything has to have its course.
That's right.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move on to item number 9, which is review action regarding coronavirus policies, procedures, handbook changes as applicable. Yesterday I did have a department head meeting, and I guess I want to report on that a little bit. We had a good meeting there. The departments seemed to all understand the problems with this. I tried to present what was discussed at the workshop without trying to put my opinion in and saying, you know, this is all of the board felt certain ways, which basically was, we want to keep people working. We want to keep people on the job and work with our departments. The one thing that I guess one of the things that came out of that, or I heard out of that at least, was they are at some point looking for direction from us and how to function. They're working through things like how to have employees work from home, how to work alternate work schedules, how to maintain that social distancing. Towards the end of the meeting, one of them actually said, now, it's okay if they do work from home and the departments would figure out how that works within their own department. And that's an agreed upon, everybody approves of that. And I said, well, and you guys will have to correct me if I'm wrong, Doug and Linda, but I said that was the feeling I got from our workshop was, we want the departments to try to figure out how that works for each one of them. Thoughts,
Yeah.
comments?
No, I mean, you know, again, I look at that as every department head is responsible for figuring that out. And again, if they have the ability and they're set up where they can, I guess, and there's some way of monitoring or accountability, that's fine. That's up to the department head to keep business going. And making sure that our employees are staying busy and, you know, there's, like we said yesterday, there's plenty, I would think, to do.
That's right. I mean, we're able to work from home as long as our IT director says the security is maintained for Floyd County.
Right, and Bernie was actually in the room yesterday, so he participated in that, and I think everybody understands those things that have to be done. I don't, specifics I'm not going to say, but they understand we have to maintain security. We have to have ways to verify, you know, what your employees are doing a little bit. But it is up to each department to figure that out. We talked about alternate work schedules and you know, to think that an employee from 8 until 4:30 is going to be sitting at their computer, it's up to the department to figure that out. Maybe they're doing it at 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night when their houses are quieter. We don't know that, and it's up to that department head to determine that. But that is the direction. I said we were more than understanding of that situation.
So, when we talked about sharing some of the responsibility that if you've got a department that has time to help another department out? What was the thoughts from everybody on that?
I think that the thoughts were that yes, we should pursue that as needed. We, at this time, our departments, I believe across the board, stated that they did have enough work within their own offices to keep them busy. Now, as Doug has pointed out previously, and I agree 100%, Doug, we are in a fluid situation and it does change day to day. And we talked about trying to coordinate if there were employees that could do other things. And actually, Gloria, I believe, volunteered to be a collection point for some of that information. Is that correct, Gloria?
It was, because no other offices seem to have time to do that.
I know. And they all indicated at this time that they are busy. And so we have to take that with, they are the department heads, they have to give that input. Dusty'd like to say something, I'm going to let him.
I just have one comment as far as the collection site out there by the fairground, just so you guys are aware of that. I know we're ad-libbing as we're going through this, and basically I have told Karen out there to minimize contact, to check them in on her own, talk through the window so that there's not that hand-to-hand, handing a clipboard and all that stuff. We've talked about that. I also instructed her, just in case you guys get any calls, is one vehicle at a time in the trash area. Before it had been where one would go in and another would come in waiting to take their turn to throw it in, and I said no. She goes, well, a lot of people get mad at me if I'm telling them they can't do this, and I kind of instructed her, just so you guys are aware of it, in case you get a phone call, I don't care how far the cars are backed up on the road, when the one person checks in, you tell them to wait until that person is done throwing the garbage in there. I instruct her to leave the doors open until she has to compact it, and then she would do that on her own, so that people aren't sitting there opening and closing doors. But just one vehicle at a time. Stay in your vehicle when they're done. When they get in their car and leave, then the next vehicle can proceed in. Because she was not getting that. She was allowing this, and a little bit of a panic mode, I think, was, well, they're going to get mad at me if I don't let them. And I said, I don't care. Then if they get mad, you can tell them to talk to me. Because to me, we're trying to still provide that service, but yet minimize the contact with potential of spreading anything. So I just want you guys to aware of that.
Yeah, I think that's great, but, have you communicated that? Is there a way to communicate that out to the general public so they're aware of that new process?
Well, I just talked to her Friday, so not yet. So but we can do that. We can let the radio know, just so that they're aware of it. Yeah. I mean, to me, in common sense, people with this whole thing across the news everywhere. I mean, to me, it would be.
You would think.
You would think people would say, "Yeah, I'm gonna stay in my car until I can throw this."
Yeah.
I get it. If they are worried, I would say, well, let your garbage build up for a little bit till maybe we get through this. But that could be for a long time, so I don't know if that works. An alternative is that at some point, do we just say, hey, it's starting to get worse all of a sudden in Floyd County, we need to close that site for now? I don't know. That'd be an option to just consider if we got to that point. And I hate saying that, but that's kind of where we're at. So I just wanted to let you guys know that's kind of the direction I've given her. Because I don't want her to feel that she's risking still doing her job and do that. So checking through the window is what she's doing now. I just told her, don't let anybody else in, one vehicle at a time.
Good. Okay. Sounds good.
We have a responsibility of not just protecting our employees, but trying to do things to help protect the public as well. And that's, at this time, that's just common sense. Okay. Anyhow, any other discussions on the COVID-19 policies, procedures?
You've asked department heads to do essential, non-essential.
Just again, that it's an ever-changing,
Well, yeah.
ever-changing event. We'll continue to monitor it.
Right. One other thing we did do is we requested department heads. We keep seeing more on the essential, non-essential duties, and so we asked department heads to try to identify what essential personnel, duties, however it'll come across, I guess, within each department, so that we can start compiling that. We are seeing, and like we say, this is fluid, this is every day. We're seeing information about identifying essential duties, and this last one actually came, did it come through the federal government? That one notice that you sent? You shared?
That's been in multiple documents since last
Right.
week, yeah.
Right. So we did ask him to do that. We talked about what our discussion was in our workshop in the morning, that at this time we were going to utilize the handbook for sick time. I try to look at, Gloria put together a really good spreadsheet information for us about COVID-19 and the expanded sick leave. And I've considered the fact that maybe we should take action just stating where we're at, that we are utilizing the expanded sick leave for COVID-19 cases per the federal government's requirements. And for other sick time, we are currently using our existing handbook, rules and regulations. Are there any thoughts on that?
No, that's fine. I mean, if we want to take an action to formally state that.
Okay.
I think kind of with, Dusty saying employees are wanting what, or department heads are wanting, what directions are you taking? Are you doing any different measures?
Right.
So
Yeah.
at least that lets them know it's not just being talked about, but you have taken a stance on whether you're doing anything more than, you have to comply with the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. And so if you're doing anything more than that, that's what I think department heads are wanting to know. If you're wanting to go above that.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll start this and I'll make a motion that we state that we are following the federal guidelines for COVID-19 expanded paid sick leave. And there's an act to this, it's
Families First Coronavirus Response Act.
Families First Coronavirus Response Act. And for our normal time off sick leave policy, we are currently following our handbook that is now in place. Can I get a second to that?
I seconded.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to approve that statement. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and I think really it is one of those things that I did hear from the department heads, and that is they are looking for direction. And we have good discussions at our workshops, but they would appreciate it if we, if we're willing to take a position on something, that we put it down in writing, we put it down as an action item at a meeting and do something with it. So that's one of the messages that I did get. So be thinking about it if there's things in the future we should be doing. Okay? Any other questions about the coronavirus policies, procedures, handbook? Anything at this time?
Nothing at this time on my end.
None of us have a crystal ball or a magic wand.
No, we certainly don't.
Follow up with Bernie on meetings.
Pardon?
Your follow-up on Bernie on how you're going to conduct meetings for the public to
Oh.
access.
Yeah, we did discuss, I had a discussion with Bernie, we talked about how to conduct meetings, and he's looking at other options. I had an opportunity yesterday after our meeting. I was someplace where they were using Zoom, saw a little bit of the advantages to that, disadvantages. And so we are looking at that side of it. We may try a video meeting at some point and see how it goes. And
Bernie mentioned that probably the easiest would be to do the FaceTime. You could do that with just anybody's cell phone going live on, like if it's my cell phone, you put it live on the auditor's Facebook page or his page, or, well, I don't know if he has a page. Emergency management's page like he did before. And he's also looking into WebEx. He mentioned that there's been some issues with Zoom that's not been so successful in some areas.
right.
So he's looking through that.
The advantage I saw with the Zoom is that, and we have not had any problems here with people trying to talk over each other and stuff, but with Zoom at least there's more control over that. And identifying who actually is talking. Now we recognize voices, but with Zoom actually you have that picture of that person talking comes on your screen.
Well, there's a lot of applications that do that same thing, Roy.
Absolutely.
So it isn't just Zoom that does that.
No.
Many of them do that.
That was just one I got to observe yesterday, Linda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
gonna try WebEx, and he's got
Yeah.
some different ideas, but I think you just need to make sure he's got something in place for your next meeting, because we do need to be able to have that interaction with the public, and we do have limitations with the conference phone as we're using today. So we need to make sure we're compliant, and we need
Right.
something by your next meeting.
Yeah.
Well, and I think like we said yesterday, that's what we look to do to give us this recommendation.
Right. With the call-in, there are limitations, and at this point, we haven't had a huge rush for people to listen to our meetings and
We don't
sort
know
of.
that though.
What's that?
We don't know that necessarily though.
Well, we don't. Well, other than if they're listening here, we wouldn't
No,
know.
Because
Sure.
this phone system, you don't know, there could be, because it's how many phones outside lines are being used on this phone. So if right now we have multiple offices on the phone and someone tried to call in, we wouldn't know if they tried to call in and couldn't get in or
And
not.
couldn't get
So
in.
we need something
Sure.
different than this.
Sure. Okay.
It doesn't have to be FaceTime. I mean, the easiest
Could be a
thing
lot
with
of things. Right.
just a
Right.
conference line that allows more than what
Mm-hmm.
this system has.
Mm-hmm.
Just make sure he's got something in line so by Thursday so I can put it in the agenda for next Monday.
Okay. Okay. I'll keep working with Bernie on that. Any other discussion on this that we need to talk about today? We do have a meeting with Saragordo County at 10:20. So,
Do we have any packet of information on that? I don't remember seeing anything
No,
other than,
let me just check again. I talked to Sandy about it because she originally wanted the meeting at 1 o'clock, and so I just made a call to her. And she said that this is all for work that was done on their side, but because we're a joint district, you all have to be a part of it. So it is only affecting those 3 mains and laterals that aren't on our side. So our people won't be taxed anything on, or assessed anything on this.
all right, makes sense, okay.
okay.
Those seem like minuscule amounts compared to what's going on, or what should be going on, or could be going on.
Yeah, I know.
And I think
It does,
I think
doesn't
she
it?
said maybe some blowouts or something, some kind of tile fixes, something, nothing too major,
Yeah,
but I'll look here real quick and see if she said anything, but I don't think she ever did.
it's funny, Doug, because I was thinking the same thing. These are pretty small amounts.
And I believe,
Oh, I do have an email from her, but it's just that lateral to A1A, that third one on there, does not need to be assessed. So the bottom one won't
It
be an issue.
doesn't? Okay, so it'll just be the first two.
Yes,
Okay, all right.
yeah.
All right, and then we call into the same number, right?
Yeah.
57, okay, got it.
Do you want to recess? Or actually, you could adjourn this meeting
I'm-
and then just,
I was just gonna say, that was my next thing, is this gonna be part of our regular meeting? The way we've got it presented, it's separate.
Yeah.
So I guess we move on to item number 11.
Yeah, I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned. You guys wanna just hang on until 10:20, or do you wanna call back?
I'll call back.
We're gonna leave this line open, I think. Can we
You don't
leave
have
this?
to.
We don't have to, okay. We're gonna
If
close this down then. Gloria said we can close it down and we will open it back up before 10:20.
Sounds good?
You want us to call back in?
yeah.
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 There's
we'll call
no
Alright.
sense for hanging on for another 15 minutes yet. Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Push that one. Yep. Should be done.